Hi everyone, welcome to the Facebook Live with me and Steve.
Hi everybody.
Okay, so over the next 6 months, we're going to be talking through Steve Knapp's 5 principles for sales excellence. We're going to break them down month by month. But first of all, this month, we wanted to give an overview of what the 5 principles are, what it's all about. So this can help you understand more about business strategy, about the customer intimacy, the sales culture, and your pipeline. It's going to literally cover everything around what Steve Knapp on SteveKnappSales.com offers. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's right. What a great introduction that was.
Well,
about the 5 principles.
This is really going to help everybody, and this is one of the main reasons why we both wanted to do this, isn't it?
Yep.
Why we wanted to push this forwards, and at the end we're going to explain a bit about the Sales Growth Club as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Here we go, Sales Growth Club. So first of all, explain a bit about you, Steve. Well, who are you?
Yeah, well, that's answered by different people in very, very different ways. But I guess what people here are probably interested in is a little bit of the background. I am an East Ender. I don't sing about pearly kings and queens, but I do support West Ham United Football Club.
We'll leave that bit out.
We'll leave that bit out in the final edit, please. I'm a father. I'm a husband first, and a father. We did follow the more natural sequence of 3 girls, and I live in the Peak District in the UK. But that's a little bit about me. But actually, the professional side is I've always been in sales, and sales is the thing that floats my boat. I've been in sales all my working life, from a greengrocer as a Saturday job. Through to knocking on people's doors and explaining that propane cylinders really are a feature in your prized rose garden, to then working for Shell International, where I've led sales teams domestically and internationally and helped them designed how they sell, how Shell sell. So always been in sales, and that brings me to where I am today, Steve Knapp Sales.
Okay, so you literally did start at the very beginning of door knocking, going around people's houses, knocking on door, selling propane bottles.
Yeah, I did, and I still sort of remember those very early mornings. I used to live in Berkshire at the time, and because I was getting better and better at my job, I found that my area was becoming bigger and bigger. So at times I had to wake up 5 in the morning to go to Norwich, to cover Norwich, to be knocking on doors in Norwich. And one of the things I learned, there's a long way to drive for, at that time, not many houses. But yes, it was door knocking, and it was really building trust and rapport with people from a very, very early stage in my career. Yeah.
One of the first sales jobs I had was door knocking as well, and I started in insurance, going around selling life insurance to people door knocking. So I know exactly how hard it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get leads. They've had health insurance, you got the lead, so you think it's going to be a simple sale. You go knocking on doors, and it's really not.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, remember this time, mobile phones weren't even invented, right?
They were my time.
Yeah. So leads. I had to stop at phone boxes. I had to stop at telephone boxes and telephone the office to see if anybody happened to want to speak to me. And of course the answer was yes they do, but they're back down in Berkshire. So it was a real tricky environment, and I had to carry 10p pieces in my car. And actually, it's just a side issue before we jump into this. The biggest technological advancement was when British Telecom brought out a charge card. And it meant I didn't have to carry my 10p pieces around in my car anymore. It was quite incredible, and to think where we are today.
I remember that. My mum got me one of those.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your 5 principles. How did the 5 principles of sales excellence come about?
Yeah. Well, they came. I guess they've always been there, right? They've always been there in best practice in sales, and over my 30 years, I've kind of experienced what it's like to work in a really great sales company with really great sales leaders, and I've been lucky enough to be able to connect into really stunning research, and being a practitioner of sales. The things that fascinated me more than anything was how research and process and data really started to make a difference in my sales results. And I was very fortunate to lead a sales team for Shell in sub-Saharan Africa, and I lived in Johannesburg for a number of years, and I was really very quite successful there, learning lots of new skills about sales approaches in different cultures, and the leadership of Shell at that time said to me, we've got some big problems in this company. We're either going to set ourselves up to grow, or we're going to set ourselves up and cut our costs accordingly. Very fortunately, they had some very sensible conversations that said, well, let's go after growth. But what we need a mechanism, we need a methodology, we need a story that actually connects the whole of the company to growth. So I was asked to go and devise a program for Shell. And that program, they still use it today, is actually based much upon the sales principles, sales excellence. The principles of sales excellence is very much based upon that, but are much more relevant to small and medium size businesses. So it came about because these 5 areas are the core areas that make a sales culture, sales effort, and a company succeed. You look at all of the research that's out there from CEB, now Gartner, and they start to draw out things like the anatomy of a great sales force. That was really complicated. Right? It was really just too complex for my needs, and what I needed to do was to have a program that connected to frontline salespeople, that really made a difference to how they viewed not only their profession but the activities that they did on a daily basis. So it's based on really grounded research, but also based upon what are those tangible, specific things that sales leaders, owners of businesses, people that want to drive sales should do day in, day out to deliver results. It takes it from the high level intellectual concept and breaks it right down to tangible actions.
Okay, can we just pick up that bit again? Because you mentioned that it was created in your Shell days for Shell, but it can help businesses of all sizes. How has it been adapted to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things, Chris, is a good question, because when I say Shell, people go, it's far too big, it's not applicable to me. I mean, do remember that some of the Shell operating units, as they're called, their companies, would be 6 people. It might be Shell, but actually the sales force in Hong Kong was 3 people.
Okay.
Right? So it's not the fact that it proves the fact that regardless of your sales team, China was 350, Hong Kong was 3. The processes and the structure of delivering sales and delivering sales excellence through process design and execution, it doesn't matter about the size of the company. But that said, once I set up Steve Knapp Sales Excellence and really set out on my own, one of the things I needed to do was let's just say translate it, run a translation filter across all the corporate bullshit and buzzwords, and actually make it far more grounded and made it far more practical and relevant. Because things like pre-call planning, post-call planning, account plans, they're all very relevant for any size of business. So there wasn't a deliberate change it to make it fit. It was just make the language more accessible and the activities more relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sales principle 1.
Yeah.
What's it about? Sales principle number 1.
Yeah. So number 1 is business strategy, and this isn't the strategy of your business per se, right? So it's not to say, is the strategy set up right from the whole of your business, but this is sales in the centre of your business strategy. Because one of the things that I learned as a differentiator in businesses that are successful and businesses aren't, is that from the top of the shop, and that could be you as an owner of a business or you as a sales director, sales manager, if you don't get this stuff and you're not interested in it, why would anyone else be? I mean, there's a great quote that I love. If you follow me around on the social platforms that I use, it's a guy called Kotler, and what he says is the sales. I'll paraphrase it. The sales department isn't the only department in the business, but everybody should be the sales department, right? And it's basically saying every single part of a business should recognise that they play a part in delivering sales. Be it that you're in marketing, be it that you're in, if you're in credit, if you're lucky enough to have those departments in your business, make sure that they are absolutely connected to your sales activity. So, business strategy number one is making sure that everybody in the business is connected to the results, is connected to the sales culture, and that all the activities you do as leaders drive down a customer-centric, a customer-driven culture.
Okay. Next month we're going to break down this category a lot more, but just quickly, can you just talk about, when you talk about connected, how should they be connected? You're talking about using a piece of software, you're talking about mindset.
Yeah, well, it's not software. It's not software. It's actually being very conscious of the daily activities that you do and how they impact the sales effort, and that is mindset. But that is deliberately understanding that, right? So let's just say let's just use marketing, which is a bit more of a traditional sales and marketing piece. I still join companies where they have a sales force, they have a marketing team, right? I don't, it's me, I do both. But if you have a marketing team, are they involved in pipeline reviews, sales opportunity reviews? And if they're not, how are they learning what's going right and what's going wrong? How are they improving the offer? How are they getting close to the pricing? So connected is about making sure that where you have those activities and tasks, you've got the right people around the table to be bothered about them. Now, if you're on your own, it's a very different piece, of course, because I talk to myself for hours during the day having pipeline reviews and so on. But the point is, if you do have the resources available, make sure that they're connected. Even if you work on your own as an independent, as I do, I'm very lucky that I have people that I trust that I work with, and they need to understand what I'm driving from a sales strategy perspective and how their contribution plays a part in delivering my results. So it's not tools, it's not IT or technology. It's taking the time to understand how the activities you perform on a daily basis impact the sales effort.
And because that's what comes back to who you are, isn't it? About the coach that you are, the sales coaching that you give.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. I mean, the reason it's principle number one is for a reason. Without that, there's no 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. Because, I've been in places where a sales director has said to me, "We need to sell more, Steve. Could you go and help us do it?" Well, yes, but let's start with you first.
Because a lot of people want to jump to number 5, don't they?
The lead management piece, right?
Yeah.
Totally. So no, and you've got to find the time to look back to yourself. When is the last time as a leader you've looked at an account plan, if you have the need for those? When is the last time that you went to visit a customer? When is the last time you sat down and really spoke about proposition development and understanding the challenges? And if those 3 questions off the top of my head you can't answer and you find that difficult, you probably need to have a chat with me, because that is principle number 1.
Yeah.
You as a leader taking accountability to drive that culture. And we start there and we stay there all the way through, because that is what drives the rhythm through the business.
Okay, number 2. Number 2, principle number 2.
Growth management.
Yeah.
Growth management. So this is number 2, and like most things, there is a reason. The reason growth management is really important is because we've already talked about connecting the teams, right? Now, growth management is the underpin, is the language you put behind that. So it's about Yes, it is. It's about setting meaningful and realistic targets, right? It's about making performance visible. That could be through league tables. That could be just through a whiteboard in your office that's showing where are your plans, how are you tracking. It could be things like, if you work in a manufacturing plant, manufacturing facility, and you have a dedicated area in that factory that shows prospects, customers, competitor information, size of your pipeline. Growth management underlining all of your culture to demonstrate to your business just how you're tracking against your business plans. So growth management is an absolutely critical part to any sales culture. I mean, you talk to many of the significant sales leaders or people that run very, very significant businesses, folks. I mean, their staff feel really connected to the journey, and they do that through having mechanisms that show performance and how the performance is tracking against the plan. And if the plan is being exceeded, we take time to celebrate and recognise. That's all part of this principle. And if we're not succeeding, we learn from what we need, and we learn what we need to do to get better at it next time. So it comes with a lot of glitz and glamour around league tables and visibility, but it also through it drives performance culture.
Yep.
Right. So within growth management is about, are you clear expectation wise what it is you expect people to do? There's no point going out of the gate and jumping out to sell if actually you haven't said this is what good looks like. And good looks like 10 sales calls a day, 5 new customer acquisitions a month, a credit book that's running at less than 1%. If you haven't taken your time to actually articulate what growth management looks like, how do the people that are helping you get to your goals actually know what good looks like to get there?
Yeah.
So this principle is a mix between pull and push. It's a mix between recognition and performance management.
Okay.
Yeah?
But that kind of comes into number 3 as well, doesn't it? Sales leadership. Principle number 3.
Yeah. So sales leadership is where we're actually, this is about coaching.
Yeah.
This is about the person most senior or most accessible to help support your sales effort drives performance through 2 things really. Conversations in the business about business performance and people development. Those 2 things. And I often say to leaders of businesses, folks that run sales teams, people that own companies, what's the point of employing a sales manager or a sales coach if you're asking them to attend internal meetings that are nothing to do with sales? And actually they're only there because you're using them to validate your ideas. If your sales coaches aren't out coaching, surely they're missing the purpose of the job. But in this principle, I help you understand what it is that you've got in the way, what's getting in the way of your coach's coach. I also help them see what is good practice in this area, because coaching isn't about telling. Coaching, I use a phrase, coaching isn't about being a hero, it's about making them. And being able to stand back and help people succeed is actually what the job of a coach is. But a coach will be more effective if they have good processes and they have good disciplines. So there are lots of tools and tips and hints that I provide in this principle of sales leadership. I call this one where the rubber hits the road.
Sales leadership, you talked there about sales coach leading a team. Is there also a lot of information there for if you're by yourself, how to give yourself the leadership tools and skills to pick up on things?
Well, so here's the thing, right? If you are on your own, it is a different requirement, right? Because you're not driving results through others, but you are driving the results through your own standards. And some of the things that we do here is we look at are you having the appropriate level of planning? Yeah, are you sitting back and looking at the opportunities in your pipeline, and actually on a very regular, repetitive basis, prioritizing? Are you prioritizing? Are you putting the right amount of resource to something? Do you know your market? Are you going after the right prospects? Because one of the things that you fall into as an individual, and I do myself here, is that everything becomes a priority. But actually, if you've gone through the principles in a structured order, i.e. you set your strategy, when you're into sales leadership, you're able to prioritize a lot easier. And that means that you're more likely to score more of the goals that you shoot for, because you're going for the right prospects down the line.
Yeah.
So it does have applicability for you as an individual by using the process to help you prioritize and to make sure that you're putting the right resources and effort into the right opportunities.
Okay. Right, number four, sales execution. This is one of my favourites. I like sales execution.
Yeah, I do too.
This is where you see it all come together, isn't it?
Yeah. Sales execution, number 4. I mean, this is pretty much the sales guys and girls, right? This is the stuff about bringing the intelligence from the customer into your plans to execute, to grow sales. And these are the folks that are closest to where the sharp end is. And what I find here, and I've watched this quite a number of times in companies, I find that this is the place that gets the least investment, because there's an assumption that your salesperson, all they need is training. So all they need is training in the latest sales techniques, or they need a refresher around closing, or they need a refresher in their questioning. The bit that I find is one of the biggest failings in any salesperson's approach, be it in a team or as an individual, is planning and preparation. So in this principle, you've got some lovely little tools, I must say, about pre-call planning. I call it a Whopper, and you can find that on the downloads on the website. But
that's StevenAppSales.com, yeah?
That's StevenAppSales.com, yeah, it is. And you can find that on the website. And what it does is just helps you structure your sales call. And if you think about how many sales calls you've got in the last 2 weeks, how many times have you really sat down and worked out, why you're going, what the objective is, what the purpose is, what the premise is, what you know about the customer, and what you're anticipating.
Yeah.
Just to sit down and write all that out actually increases your chance to succeed unbelievably.
I think that's one of the main points, is writing it out as well. I know when I start doing my sales calls throughout the day, I'll get in my head, I'll think, right, this is my structure, and it's in my head, and then you start phoning, but by the time you've got to lunchtime, you've completely lost that structure, because you haven't got it wrote down, you forgot what it was, and by lunchtime you're winging it, and they're just not as effective.
Well, I mean, you're so right. I mean, an example, a couple of months ago, I had a horrible day. Chesterfield, the car park was full, the where you put your money in was broken, my train was delayed, and I arrived to a client with 1 minute to go in London. Now, it was all I was stressed, right? There was all sorts of stuff going on, but I'd done my planning. So I was able to go into that call and just take out my pre-call plan. Actually, I gave it to the client as well. And I said, this is what, and it was fine. So planning keeps you in control.
Yeah, even when you are sweaty and just ran to your meeting.
And all of that stuff, right? Yeah. So all the planning comes into sales execution. Now this is the stuff that salespeople hate. Mm-hmm. Because you explain to them that you're going to bring in process and you're going to bring in structure. But actually what it does do over time is it makes them more successful. And then they love it. When I first started selling processes, I would try and run away from them. Now I find them as the most value-adding part of the sales process.
Yeah, definite. Okay, number 5. Move on to number 5 quickly, which is pipeline management.
Yeah, so pipeline management, I mean, it does what it says on the tin, right? But this is a space where I think a lot of people don't spend enough time analysing it, right? And I don't just mean, have you got a list of prospects? Because everybody's got a list of prospects, right? This is about making sure you have, I'm going to use the word again, a methodology within your pipeline. How many phases does your sales pitch take? Is it just I get a lead, I phone them up and I close it? Or is there a little bit of analysis? Is there a little bit of negotiating? Is there a little bit of closing? So are there phases in your sales process that it would be helpful to measure? So what I like in pipeline management and what I do in Principle 5 is I help you unlock your pipeline. And I help you see the steps in your pipeline so you know exactly where each of your opportunities is through your sales process. So I would say to you, how many opportunities do you have at the negotiate phase versus how many opportunities do you have? Just changes the thinking. Then you'll be able to say to me, well, out of 10, I've got 7 at negotiate. And I'll say, right, what's the percentage likelihood of each of those moving to the next phase? And they will be very, very different. So actually, it's just about driving a little bit, I call it the maths of selling, into pipeline management.
Should you have a measuring tool for your negotiations as well? The amount that you negotiate and the level in which you're going to go to?
So you're talking about my walkaway point. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is clearly an important part, right? Because one of the things when you're in a sale, a bit of a tip here, is that you can get a little bit seduced, carried away, if the buying signals are there. And sometimes that means that you do concede. You concede too quickly and you can concede too cheaply. So one of the things that you should be doing through all of your work within your pipeline, within your pre-call planning, your Whopper, is you should be really establishing what it is that you're prepared to walk away at and what you're prepared to accept as a minimum offer. But in the negotiate phase here, absolutely, you should have your top end, you're happy with, and your walk away.
Yeah. And your pipeline management, should this be updated monthly? As your company grows, and I'm sure you're going to have more people in your sales pipeline. And
So for me, pipeline. I use another phrase. You probably picked up, folks. I like little phrases. It helps me remember. Pipeline is part of your company's DNA. So you don't look at this monthly. This is real time. So I might get a phone call today. And if I had a discipline and I'm only going to look at it every month, I might miss. Opportunities are. There's a phrase coming in the industry called speed to lead. And this is a little bit about how quickly your lead turns into you responding to it. So my view here is your pipeline is part of your DNA. And for many businesses, for me, as an example in Steve Knapp Sales, that's not a great big list. But I need to know where each of them is in the pipeline to be able to keep communicating regularly to these folks about what's happening, where I think I can add value. So no, I wouldn't say it's monthly, I wouldn't say it's weekly. I'd say make it part of your DNA and have it as a living piece of information that helps you prioritise your sales efforts and sales activities.
Brilliant. Now we're going to be picking up more on the 5 principles over the next several months, and next month we're going to break down number 1, then number 2. But where can they get more information now? If anyone wants more information now, is there anywhere they can go and download some stuff?
Yeah, so I've mentioned my website, right? So that's www.steveknappsales.com. You've got that place there. So yeah, you can go. There's downloads. There's a bit more stuff about principles. Loads of blogs that start to explain that as well.
And there's some free downloads on there as well, isn't there?
There is some free downloads. All I want is your name and your email, and then you can access it. It's free. Just log on, get in there, and download.
Brilliant. So they can even sign up with their email address to get more content and more information over the following months.
Correct.
And explain a bit about the Sales Growth Club then.
Yes, this is.
I know this is a passion of yours.
What it is, and let me spend just 2 minutes on this. I've already explained. I come out of the corporate world where resources were infinite. Right? I'd often go back to a country after I'd been there 2 or 3 months before, having forgotten the question that I'd asked them, and have a perfect answer. What I realised setting up on my own is that actually most people don't have that kind of resource, and me myself now, right? But it didn't sit quite so easy with me that I couldn't help share some of my vast experience and learning with smaller and medium-sized businesses. So I needed to come up with a solution. And that solution is the Sales Growth Club, and what that is an online membership group that you have access to me. You have access to me. You have access to Facebook Lives. You have access to Q&As. I get the best information for you that's out there, handpick it for you, and I really try and help give you the right advice that if you had a sales director in your business, I would kind of help you and guide you in those areas. It's fully online, so we don't have that kind of face-to-face relationship. That's the other offers in my portfolio, but actually it's about helping businesses who don't have access to that resource. That's what the Sales Growth Club is.
Brilliant. So it's obviously it's priced very efficiently for smaller businesses.
Yeah.
It can save them time because they don't actually have to go anywhere. It's all done online.
Yeah.
And they get access to you, one-to-one access to you in group sessions, Facebook Lives and Q&As, to you with your knowledge and skills in which you can impart onto them and help them grow their business.
Yeah. So I was told by somebody the other day, sorry we've been going a bit fast, Pete, we're getting carried away here. It's cheap as or comparable to a Netflix subscription. I quite like that. I don't have Netflix, but I can certainly bring you more money to your business than Netflix would. And yeah, it's that. It's exactly that. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm certain it's going to value folks. And that is Steve. No, it's not. It's the Sales Growth Club.
Growth Club, the Sales Growth Club.
.com. We've just changed that over. So the salesgrowthclub.com.
Yeah, if you click on the salesgrowthclub.com, they can find all the information and how to sign up. Follow the process on signing up, and then they'll go straight through to the Facebook page, and then they can get access to all the information currently on there.
Yeah.
And the next question and answers, which is coming up on Friday.
Yeah.
So, but if they've got any questions, they can ask you in the meantime, can't they?
Totally.
Yeah, just put it on the club.
Yeah, put it on the club board, and I'll go through. And yeah, so next Friday we've got a Q&A. We'll post on later this week what the subject's going to be about. But if you've anything that you would like to discuss, please throw it on there, and we'll see and make sure we fit it into that conversation.
That's right, because at the moment we're talking about sales leadership, I believe, from this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
So we can help people, small traders, individual, and also anybody who's growing a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Excellent. So, sorry, I hope we haven't talked too fast, but we are going to place this up onto Facebook, Twitter, put some links on Twitter so you can watch it on YouTube. If you've got any more questions, do post them on this Facebook page, on Steve Knapp Sales Facebook page, Steve Knapp Sales Excellence Facebook page, and also don't forget to sign up to the group. Thank you everyone for watching, really. Yeah. We will be back in a month's time to go through Sales Excellence number one.
Yeah. Business strategy. We might even come back to Chris's library.
Yeah. Honestly,
that wasn't in the script.
We are at Kenwood Hall, so I'd like to thank everyone at Kenwood Hall for having us here and allowing us to film at their beautiful location. In their beautiful library. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much for watching.